Good morning, responsible gun owners in this wonderful country of ours. My name is David. I just thought I would make a little video on cleaning your pistol. One of the things that we want to focus on, first of all, is safety, of course. So we want to make sure that we have two things going on here. Number one, that there is no ammunition in the area where the weapon is being cleaned, and we need to do a check on the weapon to make sure it's clear and ready for cleaning. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to remove any magazines, and as you can see, there is not one in this one, and all the ammunition has been cleared from the area, so we have nothing in sight. We can't accidentally load a cartridge into the weapon while we're cleaning it. Safety first. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to check the weapon to make sure it is clear and the barrel is clear and has no cartridge in it anywhere. So the first thing we want to do is take our slide, pull it back, and engage the slide stop. And then we're going to do a physical and a visual check to make sure that there's nothing in here. And as you can see, there is no magazine. So you're going to take your finger and you're going to probe the barrel, the end of the feed ramp, make sure there's nothing in there. And as you can see, it's been cleared. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take our disassembly lever. We're going to slide it down like this. Okay. Sig Sauers are set up this way. Glocks, things like that, are set up differently for them. So they're all different. You're going to want to refer to your owner's manual for a proper disassembly. But in the SIG's case, this is how this works. So once you rotate the disassembly lever down, you're going to pull back on the slide and release it. And now we could slide it right off our body of the pistol here. So what we're left with is the grip module, which is the outside. And this part inside that contains our mechanicals for the trigger is called the fire control group. And we're not going to get too deep into that. We're just going to give it a general cleaning. These can be removed because the grip module and the fire control unit can be replaced with different colors. This is a custom grip from Wilson Combat. And this is a Wilson Combat P320C for compact or carry. So it's been out to the range. It's pretty dirty. We ran several hundred rounds through it. How often you clean your weapon depends on your personal preference. Me, I like to clean mine every time I come home from the range, no matter how many rounds I've put through it. So, for the time being, we're going to set our grip module and fire control unit off to the side. And we're going to focus on the slide. So our slide consists of three different parts. We have the slide itself. We have our spring and guide rod here. And by the way, let me show you how that comes apart. So, and by the way, when you reassemble this, you're going to make sure that this is straight up and down. That's the way I've always done it. And by the way, this video is how I do things, and it may not necessarily be the way that you do something. Everybody's procedure is a little bit different. So, this is your guide rod and recoil spring. So the first thing you're going to do is take your finger, and you can put your finger here and here, and just kind of compress the spring a little bit. Release it from the barrel lug, pull it straight out, set it aside. And this is your barrel lug. Of course, that's where your recoil spring and your guide rod sit here. To remove the barrel is fairly easy, so we're going to slide it forward. We're going to pick it up, slide it forward. So you're literally going to move it up and move it out, away from the rear of the slide. Disengage it from its resting spot there, and we're going to pull it up and withdraw the barrel. This is a field strip slide. You shouldn't have to disassemble it any further. In here, we can see this is our firing pin channel, where our firing pin comes out. And this is our extractor here. This catches the end of the cartridge and ejects it to the ejection port. And then back here has to do with our safeties. Again, we don't want to disassemble this any further than the way it is right now, unless you are experienced with disassembling these slides. If you're not, I don't recommend it. This is the outside of your ejector here. And this also provides a tactile feel when there is a round in the chamber. It will poke out a little bit so that you can tell that there's a round in there. And there's also a slight little gap between the barrel and the slide, and you can actually see the round when it's engaged in the chamber. Now, as you can see, this one's pretty dirty. There's a lot of copper fouling there, soot, debris. So we're going to get to that. Now, there's two schools of thought here. And we're talking about the barrel, of course. I'll get to the guide rod and spring in a moment. There's two schools of thought here. One, you can just clean this, wipe it all down, and put it back together, which is essentially what we're going to do. Other people like to soak the barrel in cleaner overnight. And it is very helpful because cleaning chemicals soak into the barrel and provide corrosion resistance, of course, and it breaks up heavy fouling and particles that are in the grooves and lands in the barrel itself and the rifling. However, there's several different ways that you can do this, and I'm just going to do it the quick way here because that's just the way I normally do it. As you can see, I've got some chemicals set up here. I've also got a cleaning brush, cleaning kit, and today we're going to be using our pull-through Otis Ripcord bore cleaner because it's relatively simple to use. So we'll just unpack the bore snake. They're also called a bore snake, by the way. So when you're cleaning your barrel, you're going to want to drop your ripcord through the barrel, and you're going to want to feed it. This is your cleaning end of the ripcord. You'll want to feed this in the direction that the projectile comes out, of course. So from breech to muzzle. And so what I like to do initially is run a ripcord through here just to break anything out that might be stuck in there. And so we're going to take the long portion, we're going to pull it through. And then we're going to start feeding it through. And there's little particles, little brushes actually built in to this guy that are hard to see, but anyway, they provide the cleaning action to clean. So we're going to go through it again. Again, we just drop it through the end of the barrel and we just feed it. And you're going to get quite a bit of resistance here. They do provide a handle to pull it should you need it, but you really don't too much. Now there are those who will run the bore snake through with the slide fully assembled, and you can do that too. I just like taking mine apart. That's just my preferred method of doing such things. We'll make one more pass here with the bore snake. And again, you'll have some resistance, but it's okay. And if we look in there, it's relatively clean now. But I'm still going to run a cleaning patch soaked with solvent, and we'll run a couple of dry patches through it as well. So we can set our bore snake aside. And they do come with a little T-handle that you would hook into the end of the bore snake to allow you to just kind of pull it from either end, however you choose to do it. So you're going to want to protect your hands because these chemicals are pretty stout, and I'd like to not develop skin cancer from handling some of this stuff over time. So we'll put our gloves on here. These are just a good quality latex gloves. All right, so we're gonna get our little kit out. In this kit, you know, they have different ways of doing it. Here's a shorter version. We can run a patch through there, and we can also hook our board brush through it. And we'll run our board brush through, but I don't think that too much cleaning there is necessary in this case. So what we're gonna do is we'll get our little board brush out. Well, apparently it looks like I need a new one. That one's pretty much had it. So what we're gonna do here is we'll just assemble our little board brush. The other plus about wearing gloves is when you're turning these things and you're attaching them to your cables, you don't poke your fingers with the brass bristles. It tends to hurt. So we're using some Hoppe's number 9 here, which is pretty much standard issue. Pretty good on her. Now there's guys who don't like the smell of this stuff. It's a little strong, but we won't have it open long enough to do a whole lot. So we're gonna kind of do a little swish in here. Like that. And then we're going to push our brush through the barrel. Now you notice I didn't pull it back. Again, we don't want to drag particulate matter back through the barrel in the opposite direction. All right. And if we look, I think our barrel is clean enough for my purposes. So we're going to take off our board brush. We'll just kind of dry that off and set it aside. And again, I know there's going to be people out there when I post this that are going to say, well, you should have done it this way and this way. Well, you know what? Everybody has an opinion. I have mine also. And this is just the way I do mine. All right. So the next thing that we're going to want to do, we're going to take a patch and we're just going to put a little bit of solvent on our patch. So I just like to just kind of dip. All right, just like that. We're going to wipe down the outside of the barrel. Make sure that you hit the feed ramp. You try to get as much of the copper fouling off as you can. Now there's guys that there's whole volumes of material related to people, you know, chemicals and whatnot about copper fouling and copper residue. Again, I don't subscribe to anybody else's interpretation but my own. There are methods for removing copper fouling. We're going to take our little brush here and we'll give it a dip. We kind of scrub on that a little. We may not get it all. I'm not particularly concerned about that. I think we've gotten the bulk of it there. Maybe a little bit more here. It's good enough for the girls that I hang out with, so to speak. So we'll just finish wiping out the rest of the barrel. And like I say, you can always take your AP or all-purpose brush and just come in here and just kind of brush it. Get all your little nooks and crannies and things like that. Catch your areas here where the recoil spring and guide rod sit. One last look at the barrel. I think we're going to be okay there. All right, so let me cap off this hot piece here. It is quite pungent, so we'll just cap that off for now. And what we're going to do here is we're going to run a patch through the barrel. Now these don't work exactly the same way as your traditional patch does. These work a little bit different. So what we're going to do here is you have two brass extensions, and we're going to screw them together like that. And then we're going to put our patch, our the other end, folks. I am no expert doing this, I will tell you that. And if I make a mistake, well, I make a mistake. All right, so you're going to want to take and there's different slots here for different weapons. Whoops. Let me grab my patch here. It fell. All right. So I guess I'm going to have to take a look. I don't remember what slot that goes in. I think we're going to use that outer slot this time. If I can get it through there. Okay, there we go. So we got it through there, and what you want to do with these, the Otis patches are a little bit different because they're not your traditional patch where you would just slide it through this opening and then you can just tweak it off and there it is. These are a little bit different. They use an umbrella style patch. So once you get it in the appropriate slot, you're basically going to fold it in half and make it really tiny and then just kind of push it through there. You may or may not have to remove your gloves to get it through there. We might get lucky here. There we go. Whoops. Yeah. we go. You're going to pull it. And then you basically kind of make a flower out of it like this. Okay? Now what I like to do that may not work for this barrel, come to think about it. Yeah, it's not going to work that way. Well, like I say, I never said I was an expert. So, here's what we're going to do. We'll just do it the traditional way. Fold our patch in half. And we'll get it through the slot. And we're just going to pull it. Just like that. Drop it through and pull. And we'll continue to do that several times. Now that barrel looks pretty good. I'm not seeing a whole lot of dirt and fouling left in there. I mean, there is some. Let's take another patch. And we'll just repeat the process. And again, you're going to get it through there and just pull it. And just kind of center it up. And just pull it through. Do it once more. Looks pretty good to me. All right. So we can take our rag and just kind of wipe it all down. And that looks pretty good. Okay, set our barrel aside for now. Now your recoil spring and guide rod really shouldn't need anything. You don't have to take them apart. They don't really need to be oiled. Things like that. Let's give it a good brush with your AP brush, like so. Take our patch with a little bit of chemical on and just clean the end. Make sure it's nice and clean. That looks pretty good to me. All right, so we'll just kind of give it a general wipe here. Like that. We'll set our recoil spring and guide rod aside for now. All right, so the last thing we need to do is clean our slide. It's pretty dirty. and this will complete our slide cleaning, and we'll get into our grip module and fire control unit. So what we're going to do here, I think, we're going to take a little hoppies. We're going to put it on our AP brush. Knock our excess off. Some pungent stuff. Now, one of the things you don't want to do is try and get our excess off. We don't want to get any liquid down in here in the firing channel. So we're just going to give this a quick scrub and a wipe. That's my wife with the dog. We'll just give that a quick wipe, and then we can just use one of the patches, and we'll just kind of get the excess out for now. And then we'll take our little end. Gonna get in here, and we're gonna get our slide grooves. This will remove any debris that happens to be in there. Now there's guys that get all crazy with the cleaning. I'm not all that, so I'm not gonna get all crazy. We'll go back in here and kind of just scrub everything up. Q-tips are handy if you have some with the longer sticks on them. That works good too. So you can see it's dirty. So we'll do some more dipping here. I'm sure there's somebody out on the interwebs that's screaming at me right now because I'm not doing it the way I quote-unquote supposed to be doing it, but I don't really care. So just get the inside real good. The one thing you don't want to do is get you want to clean your extractor, firing pin face, all of that, but don't get a bunch of liquid down in there, because that's going to cause issues. We just want to kind of clean it up, the breech face and all that. So that looks pretty good. And of course, if you want to, you can clean the outside. I just like to take a little hoppies, kind of I got plenty of these patches, so we'll just take a patch and dip it. Patches are relatively cheap when it comes down to it. So now we'll just kind of clean the outside real good. And then make sure you get in here looks pretty good. Just kind of wipe everything down. That's the way I like to do it. That looks pretty good to me. Okay. A little bit of debris there. Just wipe everything down. You can get in here and just kind of wipe out the excess. All right? Okay. Clean the edge of your extractor. You're also going to check your extractor here. There's a little hook at the end. It hooks the cartridge and ejects it through the ejection port. When the barrel comes back, I'm going to make sure it's clean and it isn't chipped or worn out. If it is, you're going to have to replace the extractor. And of course, that requires disassembly of the slide further than we're going to do today. So once you get it all wiped down and it looks nice, then you're pretty much done with it. We'll just kind of make sure we got most of the fouling and everything out of it. That's fine. That looks pretty nice to me. Okay. We can set that aside. All right. Now we're going to focus on our fire control unit and the grip module. One of the things I'd recommend is to be very careful about bothering the parts in here. You don't want to start pressing on things because I've noticed that it causes issues with reassembly, and you can actually get the slide stuck. I've had that happen a couple of times with my P365, and it becomes extremely difficult to get it all lined back up again. So what you're going to want to do here is just give it just a light brushing and a wipe. Now, there are guys that say, oh no, you need to take it apart and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's fine, but I don't do that. I'm not as well versed in these fire control units as some others are. So I just try and get the majority of the fouling and the copper and stuff out of here. Mostly just the lead fouling. Then we can kind of give everything a good wipe. Like I said, this isn't a pro level cleaning. This is more just a general kind of cleaning, more so than anything else. Just want to wipe anything that's exposed. Because it's all going to get dirty. Take a semi-dry wipe and just kind of wipe off your exposed surfaces here. Wipe the inside of your housing there. And to me, that looks pretty doggone good. Again, I'm not an expert, so to each his own. I try and do this just the best that I can. But I think that looks okay. You also want to clean your lugs here. I like to just give my lugs a scrub. On the fire control unit. just knock anything off of them there. You may or may not have anything on them, but doesn't hurt to give it a scrub-a-dub. Kind of get in there and just kind of wipe it out. Just focus on those areas because your slide goes back and forth on them. Last thing you want to do is get a slide stuck or something happen to it. That's not any good, right? Okay. And then for the outside here, we're just going to take a little bit of our barricade spray. Normally I use Break Free CLP, but I don't have any at the moment. My can ran out and I just haven't been down to get some more, so we're just going to put a little barricade on our rag here. And we'll just wipe down our grip module. That's what I was afraid of. Okay. They're kind of finicky when you put them back together. Just kind of wipe everything up there. Okay. And then we'll kind of just get our magazine well, because they do get soot and stuff stuck up in there. Let's give it a visual check. It looks pretty good. All right. So I'm going to start lubricating. There's different lubricants out there. This is by Wilson. It's their light oil, which I really like. I also like gun butter, and that's what this is. This is really good stuff. And then we have some just lubricating Hoppy's oil, which is also good. I use that mostly on my rifles and shotguns. But it is good stuff. So what we're going to do pop our top off our light oil there. And what I like to do is just give it just a single dot. Because you don't want to over lubricate. And we're going to come back in. And we'll just kind of clean up. We just want to absorb some of the excess. This is a fairly clean patch, so, you know, again, somebody's probably screaming at me, but I don't care. Just kind of just take off the excess, because we don't want anything dripping down in the housing. That can foul the works up pretty quick. All right. Now, I do like to put a little dot in this area here. Not much, just a little bit. All right? Kind of spread the excess. all nice and slick there so that everything goes like it should. All right, so that should take care of that. So we're going to set that aside, pick our barrel or slide back up, and we're going to put a couple of drops on our slide, roughly about where our barrel lugs are. Just a drop. Just a dib will do you. I got a little extra in there, but we'll kind of wipe that out. It'll be all right. Like I said, you don't want stuff getting down in here. Okay. And then what I like to do is put a little bit of oil a couple of other places. A couple of drops right in here. We'll just take our finger and just kind of spread it. And we'll just take our patch and just kind of pick up the excess. You don't need a whole bunch. You definitely want to put some lubrication there. That's where your barrel rides back and forth in there. So we'll give that a little coat. All right. Now we want to take our barrel. We'll give it a final wipe. And I'll put a little dot down in our hook area here. And a little dot there. And again, we just kind of pick up the excess and just sort of spread it around. You don't need to do a whole lot here. Right? So, just kind of give it a little smidge. And then here on the sides, where you can see there's some paint missing, anywhere that rubs, just a little tid of oil, not much. And then we can take the excess oil that's on my gloves here, and we'll just kind of give the barrel a light coat, and it's good to go. All right, so now we can continue with reassembly. So the first thing we're going to do excess off here. Like I said, you don't have to go crazy with the lubricant. The main reason you don't want to go crazy with the lubricant is because you don't want oil seeping down where it shouldn't be, and besides, excess oil attracts dirt, and we don't want that either. So we take our barrel, slide it forward, push it until it drops. And we're going to put I'll be honest, I don't remember if that sits sideways like that or it sits up and down. I usually put it up and down. It works fine. Somebody's got a school of thought about that too, I'm sure. But this is the Dave way of doing it. Okay, so we're reassembled on our slide. Our slide's clean. Everything's pretty much back together. So, let's see if we're going to have problems getting this slide back on because I actually moved the trigger around there. Apparently not. Yay. Alright. So you're going to slide your slide back, re-engage it on the lugs, and re-engage your slide stop. You're going to flip that up. You're disassemble the lever in the locked position. And then re-engage your slide until it stops. And of course, we're still unloaded, right? We don't have anything in here. So I'm going to fire, go to reset, fire, go to reset, fire. There's our reset, our trigger, okay? So that all looks pretty good. And just for grins, a little extra oil on top doesn't hurt. Everything looks good. Again, we're outside the trigger guard. Safety first, folks. We're going to give everything one final wipe. And that looks pretty good. I think we're okay. She's all cleaned up and ready to go for the next round at the range. And get our mess cleaned up here. So, like I said, everybody's got their own way of doing things. That's my way of doing it. Am I as thorough as I should be? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm okay with what I do. Because every time I go to the range, they function just like they should. Thanks for watching. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, put them down in the comment box. And subscribe if you would, and ring the bell. That will get you set up for any future videos that I put out. Thanks, and have a great day.